Now, let me tell you a little bit about lifecycle assessment. We've heard something about the Ecodesign strategies. I told you that we can measure environmental performance. Now, what are we actually measuring when we talk about environmental performance? Lifecycle assessment is a science to measure and quantify objective environmental performance of products and services. Lifecycle assessment takes into account emissions, resource depletion, land use changes that all happen in your life cycle. So extraction from materials from nature, material processing, product manufacturing, distribution, sales, use and upgrades. Well, you know the spiel, the entire life cycle. It's governed by ISO standards. There's a whole series of ISO standards, and everybody who does LCA, I recommend looking at the requirements and prescriptions that the ISO series gives you. What we try to do with Sustainable Minds is follow those guidelines as closely as possible so that you don't have to do all that work yourself. Now let's look at what the standard encompasses. What you see here in the middle now is a picture which is called the Lifecycle Assessment Framework. The Lifecycle Assessment Framework consists of 4 steps: goal and scope definition, inventory analysis, impact assessment, and interpretation. And you'll see those steps back in the demo when we go into the software. What you also see here are arrows going up and down. And that kind of like shows you the iterative process of how lifecycle assessment works. You learn by doing, and then you change things up. You find new data, you add the data, you try an eco-design strategy, and you develop a new concept, you measure, and you think like, okay, that was really successful, oh, this wasn't really successful, so you go back. And that's exactly what Sustainable Minds can do for you. Now, when we look at what LCA needs to get started, LCA needs from you, from every user, what we call a system bill of materials. And what you see here is just an example list of a system bill of materials for a blow molding of a plastic container. So we need some granulate of the material. We need to blow mold it. The product probably needs to be delivered to somebody that is using it, and say this is a disposable bottle. At the end, you want to landfill it. We ask that information from you as a user. Now, through a series of steps of calculations, we translate your system bill of materials into something that we call ecological and human health impact categories. And these impact categories can be range from global warming to ozone layer depletion, human toxicity, but they can generally be organized in what damages the ecology, what leads to resource depletion, and what can affect human health. Now, all that together, we bring together, and we add that up to a single indicator score. We'll give you points. Now, if we look at the steps in here, yes, this is the one I wanted to show you. So we start with a system bill of materials. We look then at what LCA data goes with that. That LCA data is then translated into a single-digit indicator through a process of characterization, normalization, and weighting. I'm not going to go through that with you, but I can tell you something about some of that methodology. This methodology follows the standards and guidelines that are available in North America. We're using impact assessment from Tracy, which was developed by the Environmental Protection Agency and the EPA. And we're using information for normalization and weighing from the EPA and from the National Institute for Standards and Technology. And we keep updating our software every time major updates are available. And we'll do that for you. Now, if you then look at our software, we provide our product is 3 services. There's lifecycle assessment, and we have a learning center, and we've already been in the learning center, and there's a community where people can share experiences and learn from each other. And we'd like to think of Sustainable Minds as TurboTax for LCA. Now, LCA, Sustainable Minds, the most important feature that we have in the software, and you see it in these 2 pictures here. On the right, you see 2 different columns, which means we are comparing things. And one of the most important features of our product is the ability to do fast and frequent comparisons between concepts, baselines, and other products and other state-of-the-art technologies. And impacts, compared impacts are important because The output from a lifecycle assessment is meaningless if you just have one single number. You want to be able to compare it. Results are otherwise just numbers. Now, comparisons drive you as a team to evaluate and make decisions. Now, who's using Sustainable Minds? You can use it throughout your organization. A broad spectrum of job functions can gain benefits from using Sustainable Minds. This ranges from manufacturers to engineers to designers to managers to strategists, consultants, and educators. And I'm sure you can identify with one of these in here in your specific organization. And depending on how you develop projects or apply results, nearly anyone in an organization from top to bottom can gain from insights and ultimately benefit from using Sustainable Minds. Typically, Sustainable Minds can be used by all people involved in making decisions about what products to make. Now, during the demo, I will show you a few ways the software can do this for you and how it can be used. So we're 20 minutes into our webinar. I want to spend the remainder of 25 minutes of taking you through the software. We will set up a project and we will do 3 pre-programmed scripted projects. One is a ideation project where there's a product strategy example which relates to flooring. Another one is a concept development where we do a material exploration example for a green phone. And then we go to a toaster project. And I'll go to the demo and then we'll debrief you with a summary slide. Now let's have a look at our projects then and go to the software itself. When you go to the software and when you sign in, and this is your startup page, and right from the startup page you can say, I want to set up a new project. So let's just set up a new project. Let's just do that, because this is what you'll be doing when you get started yourself. And let's start a project. Let's call the project just today. We ask you to fill out some information, basic information, but you can get started with a pretty minimum set of stuff. You can add some information about the project description. Why are you doing this project? That's just for bookkeeping and transparency, not just for ISO and for yourself, but for other people who may look at these projects and then know why you did this project. There could be company goals and environmental policy that are relevant for this project, and there are probably some project-specific assessment goals. Now you can imagine if you had an existing project, one of the goals could be, in your brief, is how to increase environmental performance by at least 20% from your 2008 version. That could be a carbon footprint, it could be overall environmental performance. And I'm sure you can think of some of these goals yourself. Now, the next step we want you to look at is, okay, what all are we going to include in this assessment? And if you're leaving things out, then you can mention those here. You can upload an image so that people can see lively results and your print screens and exports look good. We want you to think about a functional unit. Functional unit is the central unit for your comparison. If you draft different concepts, then they're going to be compared according to this functional unit. What's important there is that we want you to think of a service delivered, amount of service delivered. So we want you to think from a user perspective. So our default is 1 hour of use, which works for some things and doesn't work for others, so you have the flexibility to change this around. Now, to give you some examples, a functional unit for a disposable cup could be the delivery of 8 ounces of a cold beverage. Photocopy machine could be 1,000 sheets of paper copied, and so on and so on. Now, what you see in the screen here on the right is some information about, on the top, is some information about, okay, where are we at? What's this screen for? So we guide you through the software. In the next box, you see all kinds of links. These are dedicated links. If you're here, you want to learn something more about functional unit. There was some information already below. If I click this box, a pop-up will show up, and I will tell you a little bit more information about functional units, what they are, and what they can be used for. And then if you click on the next link at the bottom, it says learn more about functional units. It will take you to the Learning Center. So we have 3 layers of information for you dedicated for where you are and what you need at that moment. There's also download a user guide available on the right of the screen. That'll help you to get you through the software, and every screen has a contact support. If you have a question, just send us a message. We usually respond within a day. All right, so we set up the project. We named it, we gave it a function unit, we can start adding our first concept. So let's just do that. Let's build a simple concept and get you familiar with how you can do that. I'll just call this concept today. What we're going to be doing today is we're going to look at a plastic component that we shape that can be used and will be disposed of at the end. So when you look at the system bill of materials where we are now, we ask you to fill out information for this concept about manufacturing, about the use, about end of life and transportation. Let's just start with manufacturing add part. I'm not very creative today. Everything is today, but let's have a look at a thermoplastic, and we're going to make something out of PET. And we're going to make a product that is the size of 1 pound. Now, so I clicked on Add to the SBOM. I selected the material, and I clicked on the button, Add it to the SBOM, but I also want to have some processing involved. I just selected raw material, and now I want to add some injection molding. So I want the entire volume to be injection molded into a shaped product. So I'm going to add 1 pound of injection molding. Now, while selecting, you already see the carbon footprint and the metal points. And when you get back to the the SBOM, you can see here in the middle of the screen that about, let me see if I can select that. You can see the material PET, you can see the process injection molding, and you can see the relative contribution to the metal points and to your carbon footprint. And you see that the injection molding is about half. That's about half if you look at the material and environmental performance. Now, say this was a product that uses electricity, and then we can go to use and look at consumables for water, power, etc. And we can select, for example, a power. And you can use predominantly electricity. You can use national mix for different settings, but you can also say, no, I want to buy wind mix energy, and I want to buy setups. So you can add all that. I'm not going to add energy at the moment, but you get the picture.